Welcome back to my channel everyone, my name is Kitetsu. As promised, this is the second half of my SKAVEN video. Basically the video got kind of too long, so I split it into two parts, and you know, the flow may seem a bit strange in this video because of that, and it's very definitely because it's meant to be watched immediately after the first part. But with that being said, let's literally crack straight back into the video. I think we left off looking at VERMINUS, so we'll straight away look at them, but then after that there is a kind of summary of the SKAVEN at the moment as they appear in the General's Handbook, with kind of like a wrapping up of their pros and cons, and then I go into the 1000-point pestilence list that I'm currently planning on fielding myself. You guys truly are the best audience on YouTube. I cannot believe the support I'm getting at the moment, but just keep doing what you guys are doing. Smash that like button, and thank you so much for everything. Let's get straight back into the VERMINUS clan. These are the warrior clans, and also one of my favourite clans in just the SKAVEN range, because these guys are like the elite fighting clans of the SKAVEN. They're war hardened, they're heavily armoured, they're kind of, in theory, closer to a conventional army, but they're also quite simple. You know, they like to murder things, and that's basically their thing. They have the Storm Vermin, which are some of the coolest models in the SKAVEN range. You know, they can go toe to toe with more or less any other elite infantry in the game, like Liberators, or I guess you could think of them as standard infantry, but in the lore, they're very definitely elite infantry. They also have some really fun rules revolving around the battle tactics too, and yeah, I love these guys. Like, you look at their war scrolls and you just think they're kitted out for war. They're also a little bit unreliable because their buffs are not constantly there, but they're cool nonetheless, and you'll definitely be able to get some great use out of these guys. What else do we have? We've got our own Vermin Lord over here, which is the Warbringer. He's pretty cool, and bizarrely, this is home to the clan rats. We'll get onto that more in a minute. I have no idea why these are locked to VERMINUS, because they're literally the only battle line option in the whole SKAVEN range, which is weird, but yeah, we'll talk about them more in a second. We also have the SKAVEN Warlords, which you can take, including I guess at least the model for Queek Headtaker. You can't actually use him anymore, but that's again another video, I think, but awesome models nonetheless. The changes are pretty simple. Clan Rats now have a minimum unit size of 20 from 10, and to be honest, I think this is actually a massive shame, because as I said a second ago, they're the only pure battle line option in all of SKAVEN, which is crazy, and it forces us if we take a mixed SKAVEN list, like, I guess you'd have to theme it as a chaos list, where you want to mix all the units that you want, all of the ones you collected and bought. If you want to mix all of those together, and you don't want to use any battle line options that aren't SKAVEN, your only choice is Clan Rats. And now that they're a minimum unit size of 20, it means you're basically forced to take 60 of them. So that's really not cool. But we'll get onto that later, I guess. I do love the fact that Storm Vermin at least have now been made battle line in pure VERMINUS armies. You know, we've also got a massive regiment option for them, which is cool, and they've got an increased maximum unit size. But definitely the fact they can be battle line is my favourite change here, I'd say. Now, the VERMINUS battle line options and their points. Now, the VERMINUS battle line options and their points costs and unit sizes are shown here. As much as I do love VERMINUS for like the whole theme and the lore and the like brutality of their kind of mindset, they have a critical issue in my eyes. In fact, they have two critical issues. The first one is that they only have literally 4 units. Like on this slide here, that's it. You've got a warlord, you've got a warbringer, and you've got 2 battle line options. That is literally their entire army. You know, there's no real options here at all. So if you want to field like a large army of Verminus, you are just going to have dozens of clan rats and dozens of storm vermin, which, whilst they're cool models, is that what you want your entire army to be? Like, if you do, brilliant, that option's there for you, but for me, that is not an army, that's just 4 figures. But hey, I just really hope this gets updated at some point. I guess the second massive critical drawback is that they haven't been given the royal treatment. They don't have the allegiance abilities, they haven't got the artifacts, they've got nothing like that, so really disappointing considering they could be a very exciting faction. The good thing is that obviously we can take their really cool units like the Storm Vermin as allies, so you know, it's not all bad, but I guess on to Mulder for now. These guys are like completely feral, to be honest. They're a kind of strange army, to be honest, because again, they don't really have a typical infantry unit, but you know, these guys are home to the rat ogres, the hell pit abominations, and they've got giant rats, rat swarms, and packmasters. So in terms of changes in this army, that's everything. Literally every single thing has changed. We've got rat ogres now being battle line for Mulder, which is really cool. We've got the hell pit abomination being cheaper by literally a massive 60 points. Packmasters are actually a little bit more expensive, and that kind of makes sense because they've got this great buff ability that are I think, to be honest, they're being a little bit exploited in competitive games, or they were, in combination with Storm Fiends and I think Shock Gauntlets. But to be honest, if you want to look at over any more of these changes here, just pause the video and have a little read, because I've mentioned the Hell Pit Abominations, I've mentioned Packmasters, and I've mentioned Rat Ogres. So that's the stuff I'm interested in. I know some of the other units are popular with you guys, like the giant rats and the rat swarms, so you know, feel free to look over that. But you know, in terms of Mulder overall, they have the same drawbacks that Verminus does. They haven't got the allegiance abilities. They've got a fairly small range of models. You know, it's a little bit better, I guess, than Verminus in terms of variety, but you know, still we've only got a single leader option, and although he's got great buffs, he's not really much of a leader as such, so I don't know, it doesn't quite do it for me. And as I said, we don't have, like, shall we say, a standard battle line option, like a kind of normal infantry unit. You know, I'd rather personally not be forced to have just ogres and giant rats, and I feel like ogres themselves should be more of like an elite unit rather than like a battle line. I guess Storm Fiends as well, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it quite works, to be honest, as a faction. But I know some people will love it again, but not really for me. And there are better options, I think. So moving on to Eshin. This is basically the clan home to the SKAVEN assassins. Really great in the lore of the end times for basically their merciless murder of all of the targets they're sent to kill. It was always kind of great reading about their exploits and assassination attempts, and SKAVEN have this like really ridiculously complex society full of treachery, scheming, and like no SKAVEN is ever truly safe, having to constantly watch their backs for members of the Eshin clan. So from a lore perspective, these guys are absolutely great. Moving on to their models, we've got our own Verminlord Deceiver, which is probably my favourite one of all. I love his model. I love his little, I think it's called the Warp Stiletto Blade or something like that. That's really cool. He's at -2 to hit in the shooting phase. He can teleport your own models around the board. He's a very cool model, so I really like him. We've also got some interesting and unique battle line choices in the form of Night Runners and Gutter Runners. And we've got a Death Runner unit, which is an unusual one, and I think is actually new. And we've also, of course, got the Assassins. So pretty cool. In terms of the changes, we've got, as I said, this Death Runner. He wasn't listed anywhere before, and I couldn't actually find him for sale on the Games Workshop website, so I don't really know too much about this model yet. I think he was something to do with Silver Tower maybe, but I don't know. Don't really know anything about it, but I did find a picture of him on Google and he looks pretty cool. He is 120 points and is a leader, but I haven't even looked at his War Scroll yet, to be honest. Gutter Runners cost the same, but... and in fact this is the same as Night Runners, but both of them now get their massive regiment discount, so it's pretty cool. In terms of your battle line options, we've got the Gutter Runners. I'd say currently more favourable are the Night Runners, and I say this due to them being available in like a proper plastic box set, which is always a plus. You know, they do need rebasing, but still cool. As expected, both of these do need the Eshin allegiance to be battle line, but to be honest, I actually like this clan more and more, like every single time I consider them, because of this whole assassin theme going on. You know, it's certainly got some great lore, it's got some interesting options to field, but again, we just don't have the allegiance abilities, and it's that lack of unit variety that really lets half of these clans down. So I guess it's just something you have to get used to with the current SKAVEN lineup, and I'm sure this will be shaken up at some point, but not yet. The last option to consider is Master Clan, and to be honest, there's not really too much to say about it as an actual clan other than it's a collection of heroes, but I actually had a great idea for Master Clan. I think that basically Master Clan should act almost like the 40k Black Legion of SKAVEN. I mean, wouldn't it be like literally awesome if we had a clan that united all of the other clans and had its own allegiance abilities with access to more battle line options and literally just the whole of the SKAVEN units? It would be amazing, but I guess we can only dream. Let's have a look at their models. We have got the... I think this is called the Verminlord Warp Seer. We've got the Grey Seers, and we've got the Screaming Bell, which is a classic model. Well, this model is actually the updated version of it, which is really cool because it's being rung by a Rat Ogre, and it's got a, I think that's a Grey Seer sitting on the bell, so that's really cool. And we've also got Lord Screech Vermin King, who's a character from the End Times. And most importantly of all, we have Thankwall and Bone Ripper. I hope I'm saying that right, but this is literally one of my favourite models in the whole range. I really do love them. I'm actually building him up as we speak, but basically, disappointingly, they're kind of too expensive really to use in a lot of the, like Pestilence for example. If you want to take... Let's look at these changes. If you want to take Thankwall and Bone Ripper, he is now 50 points cheaper, but that's still 450 points. Like, you can't even take him in a 2,000 point list, let alone a 1,000 point Vanguard list, so it's disappointing really that there isn't a better way to incorporate these into an army of, like, SKAVEN, but still retaining these unique allegiance abilities and not just going pure chaos. Screech Vermin King is 20 points cheaper, now 320, and the Screaming Bell is a huge 60 points cheaper. To be honest, they're just not really an army in their own right though, and sadly I can't see my Master Clan changes actually ever coming to fruition. I think that is just a dream, really. I don't know, maybe it will. I think basically SKAVEN are surely due an update very shortly, and we're just going to have to wait and see what the future holds, really, because at the moment it isn't looking good for Master Clan, but, you know, there's hope somewhere on the horizon. Who knows? You know, they've got some welcome discounts here, but to be honest, I feel like these discounts could be as much towards trying to help them being fielded as allies as much as to balance them. You know, you can't make these things too much cheaper because the balance will be just altered too far. But at the same time, you know, they are very difficult to field. Right, let's... Obviously, there aren't any BATTLELINE options. Let's just really quickly summarise some of these considerations and issues that we've brought up so far. Basically, we're looking at BATTLELINE issues. We don't have many options available, and the options that are available just probably may not fit the theme that you're going for. We've only got clan rats in VERMINUS. Like, what on earth is that about? It doesn't make any sense. And, you know, say you want to take a Mulder list. You're stuck with the giant rats and you're stuck with the ogres, and that's it. There's no infantry, so, you know, I don't want to take giant rats personally. You might do. I don't want to take them as my infantry because I'm more like a kind of conventional army kind of guy, in the sense that I like the idea of, you know, swords, spears, artillery, archers, all of that stuff. And, you know, clan rats being stuck to VERMINUS is just annoying, but hey. We've also got this issue of small variety in armies. We've not got many units to choose from. It's hard to mix units the way we want to in an army. You know, even with this new ally list, which it goes a long way to improve things, but it does not fix things. Definitely not. You know, before the General's Handbook came out, this was the one thing I was hoping they would fix, like, massively, was just the SKAVEN clan issue, and it's still there. As of yet, it hasn't gone away. We need allegiance abilities for everything. Why don't we have that? I have no idea, but hey, I guess we'll wait and see. They're sure to be on the horizon, but, you know, I predict within a year. I don't want to be quoted on that, but I don't want to be quoted on a lot in this video, but I think these things will come. It's just a matter of being patient and waiting for them. And, you know, fortunately I do have my Sylvaneth for now, which I'm excited about. So, you know, I would be disappointed if this was my one and only faction, but, you know, there's still good things to take away from you know, these changes. In fact, there's really good things to be taken away, but I just can see some people being very disappointed. You know, embrace Pestilence and Skya, or you're going to be disappointed, basically, I think, is the moral story here. The whole 60 clan rats, if you want to take a chaos army, I guess you could take something like Plague Bearers if you wanted to kind of pretend there's this Nurgle Pestilence kind of alliance theme loosely going on. I just think that kind of breaks your theme if you just want SKAVEN. You know, if you are going for the SKAVEN and Nurgle thing, that's awesome, but if you're not, it's kind of a bit annoying. Also, we've got the outdated models, of course. I've already kind of mentioned this chaos issue with struggling to mix things, but basically this is what you would love to have in your army. You'd love to have, you know, an Eshin Vermin Lord. You'd love to have your Storm Vermin, Storm Fiends, Weapon Teams, Rat Ogres, you know, Plague Furnaces, Thanquol and Bone Ripper, but it's not going to happen. Not for now. And another really big consideration for me, and this might not really matter at all to any of you guys, but to me it's like a personal bugbear, is you have to consider whether you have a Vermin Lord as well, because from the lore perspective, I love the Vermin Lords, and Skya don't have one. We've got a Pestilence, we've got Eshin, we've got Verminus, and we've got Master Clan. And, yeah, no Skya. no Scar option at all. We've got the Corruptor, I think the Deceiver, Warpseer, and Warbringer, but I'm not going to take a faction. Well, I could, but I want a faction to have its own Vermin Lord, just purely from the lore perspective. And I kind of like just having a centerpiece for my army, so that's something to consider. Might not bother you, but it does bother me. Right. So there's kind of like my quick summary of thoughts. I guess we've also got a list here of fixes that I came up with. I've already mentioned it, that we've got these kind of, you could have a SKAVEN allegiance, or you could have a Master Clan allegiance. You could kind of make the clan rats available to all clans, or maybe just a faction specific clan rat. That would be brilliant. Updated models. If you saw the Scar at Dawn set, you know, there was some great looking stuff in there, including those new rat ogre models and the weapon teams. So it looks promising, and it looks like the GW people are clearly designing these things. So I think it's going to happen. New characters, that would be awesome, because all of the characters we have for SKAVEN at the moment are pretty much actually from the end times, and I know GW are kind of phasing those characters out, but we could definitely do with some more ones, and we could also do with new units to make up for these battle line issues, which is actually coincidentally the next point on the list here. Battle line options, remove some of the if options maybe, or just something to improve this situation. But really, I think we are going to see SKAVEN being overhauled very soon, and I think when we do see it, in typical Games Workshop style, it might actually end up taking them about 7 years, but I think it needs to be done. Okay, so the final thing I really want to do now is basically just look at my kind of current ideas for a Pestilence list, and I've actually been collecting SKAVEN here and there for a while, but I've kind of held back creating proper lists over the last year, because obviously we've all been waiting for the General's Handbook to come out. We all knew it was coming, and it kind of seemed pointless committing to something when potentially everything can just do a 180 flip with a new book. And you know, these little things like the clan rats suddenly having to double in size is a good enough reason to wait until now. I guess it can change in a year, but at least I will have a year of this new format to take advantage of the list, which is good. And unless a new battle tome comes out, which, let's face it, could certainly happen. But as I kind of mentioned earlier, I've decided to go for Pestilence basically because they're unique, they're quirky, they've got these cool abilities. I'm a particular fan of their allegiance abilities, and I think, to be honest, the options available to Pestilence just seem more kind of balanced than Skyer. You know, it's more of a preference thing really, but I just think, you know, Plague Monks just make for a great battle line option. They obviously have these great Plague Claws, they've got access to the Vermin Lord, which to me is kind of essential. You know, the great thing is I've weighed up all of the options of taking each clan and which allies they could take, and I think just for my playstyle, Pestilence just offer the best foundation to an army, and then you can bring in the heavy infantry with Verminus if you need it. You can have the kind of brute strength of Mulder. You can add the range of Skyer as required. You know, you can't take the whole lot, which is a bit disappointing, but with Pestilence, you've always got a great army at its core, no matter what you do, and then you can just add in the really exciting units, and I guess to me that feels better than, you know, having either a mashup of exciting units that just doesn't feel like an army, more like just some kind of cohort, or I guess being stuck with a clan that just has no variety whatsoever. But that's literally just my personal thoughts, and I would obviously love to hear from you guys down below on what you think. But anyway, let's have a little look at my list that I've come up with so far. We've pretty much got the 220 points for the Vermin Lord Corruptor. We've got a Plague Claw, 2 units of, I think I went for 20. Yeah, 20 Plague Monks, because there's 70 points for 10. A Plague Priest, because these guys are wicked. And a Plague Furnace. So, 960 points. It's a pretty standard affair. Now, obviously I said I wasn't going to go too much into the abilities of this video, but we do have the option, well, to be honest, the only one I can really see being feasible here is actually taking out the 140 points of Plague Monks on the second unit and split the first one down into 2 units of 10, and then you can take a Congregation of Filth, which is coincidentally 140 points, and you get some re-rolling charge bonuses, which I don't think you'd even be able to use in this list because I think you need more than units of 10, so I guess straight away you're wasting the cost of that. And I think you also get this extra save. I imagine it's quite similar to Nurgle, to be honest, but basically on a 6 you can ignore wounds. But I think, just to be honest, especially with these battalions costing so much more at the moment, I think really I would really just probably prefer to save those 140 points. And in fact, it would actually be 180, wouldn't it? Because we've only used 960. I would rather take that for, you know, just another set of another unit of allies. So you could literally bring 2 rat ogres for, I think, 120 points. You could have a whole unit of 10 storm vermin. You can have clan rats, you know, and you're still going to have a few points left over to mess around with. So that's preferable to me. And to be honest, I think that being said, I kind of need to field test the army to work out the best combinations, as it may even end up just better being sticking with the Plague Monks after all. But I'm just going to thoroughly test all of it, especially the Plague Furnace, because I'm not quite sure how effective it's going to be. It sounds amazing on paper, but I still feel like it's going to be quite easy to take down and stop in its tracks. And, you know, I also like the idea of having a second Plague Claw to boost the ranged power that we've got access to here. You know, I'm sure quite a bit of tweaking is going to be needed to get a feel for how to best balance this list. But, you know, it's great that on paper, Pestilens have got such kind of a fun units to field, so I am very excited to play this list. And also, I don't know if you know, but you can get the start collecting box of Pestilens, and it's got the Plague Claw in it already, it's got the Furnace, and it's got 20 Plague Monks, so you've literally got half your army right there. And Plague Monks are dirt cheap over here in England if you buy them on the website I use, which is about 25% off. I think they're only about 15 quid or something, so really the only actual kind of expensive, less good value for money unit is the Vermin Lord, which is one of my favourite models anyway, so you can't go wrong there. But yeah, anyway, if you did stick with me here till the end of this video, I'd really just want to thank you again. You guys truly are the best, and thank you so much for your support. You know, please don't forget to like and subscribe, but as I said earlier, you guys are blowing me away at the moment with your encouragement. You know, the amount of new subscribers I've got recently in the last few days is beyond my wildest dreams. I'm literally about 80 new subscribers in a few days, and you guys just keep flooding in, and it's the best experience I've had on YouTube without a doubt. And I've already got dozens of options for video ideas in my head and not nearly enough time to make them all, but again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and either way, just stay awesome guys, and I will see you soon in the next one.